I'm Miss C Leanne. I model and I also run the photography location Basford Hurst Cottage, which is based in Staffordshire in the UK.
I see. That was really brief, but thank you.
What else would you like to know?
So, how did you come up with your nickname, Miss C?
It's really not that inventive. My surname is Cable, so Miss C. So really not that inventive. I see so many girls with these really fancy names, and I was just like, that will do.
I see. So you're not one of those Spice Girls like Mel B, Melanie C,
I
Miss
don't know if
C.
that's an insult.
So, how did it happen to you that you decided to be a model?
I mean, if you'd asked me when I was sort of in my teenage years in school, I would have told you absolutely no way. I'm quite tall, so I'm over 6 foot, which for women is obviously a little bit unusual. And I was bullied all through my school years. And I came out of school with really low self-confidence, really low self-esteem, which still sometimes comes back to bite me on the ass. My mum say that. But when I was in my early 20s, I had a friend who was a photographer, and he invited me into the studio one day and said, "Oh, we'll do some portrait shots." And they were some of the worst photos I've ever seen of me in my life. But something inside of me was just sort of saying, "Go on, give it a go, give it another go," and I did. And it just went from there. Um, and I just enjoyed it. I got more and more, confident. The photos I was getting were improving, and yeah, just enjoyed it really.
So you thought the photos won't be worse than the first one, so your confidence just getting bigger and bigger in that case. So,
Exactly, yeah. And I think it's quite a common theme in the modelling industry. The more models I meet, especially here at Basford, the more I hear of, issues with low self-confidence, low self-esteem, body dysmorphia. And it's a real shame because I meet so many beautiful, incredible, talented women, and yet they're all coming in going, "Oh, I'm ugly, or I'm this," or, and yeah, it's a really common theme and something that I think we could all do more about.
so what you're saying is that for modeling, appearance is not everything. Confidence is playing very important role, right?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely right. When you're in front of the camera, I mean, I'll speak for myself, but when I'm in front of the camera, I can almost morph into something I'm not in a way, or become something. When I put on a certain outfit, or try a different look, or makeup, or anything, anything creative, I suppose. I suppose some people talk about that when they're acting and things, don't they? They become something they're not, and modeling is quite similar.
I see. And have you watched that movie, Neon Demon?
Neon what?
Neon Demon.
No, I don't think I have.
Oh, for sure, you should take a look at that one. It's about fashion industry,
Mhm.
and it's very interesting. So we move on since you haven't watched that one. And I noticed that you also mentioned it on your profile that you are tall. Actually, we have the same height,
Ah,
about 188 centimeter.
that's right.
So for modeling, is it an advantage to be tall or not these days?
You would have thought so. I mean, people always used to say to me the day I was growing up, they're like, "Oh, you're tall, you could be a model." And it was always the classic thing, wasn't it, that models were tall? And I suppose in some respects, maybe sort of catwalk modeling, some sort of catalogue modeling, maybe, I think it still is the case. However, the industry, the number of incredible models I meet who are, mainly average height, and it really, really doesn't matter how tall you are. You can model any height, any age, any and everything.
So is it bad for you these days that now this is the case? Because someday it was very good that you were tall and okay, for fashion industry it was such a big advantage. But as you're
Mm,
saying now, there are tons of them now that they have average height. So for you,
yes, yeah.
is it a new challenge or no? You're just doing your job, it doesn't affect it?
I think it's something around finding your niche in the industry. So I think everyone, a lot of the girls and guys, I suppose, that I come across that are in the industry, you know, they find something that really works for them. So for me, being tall, and I'm like to think I'm quite athletic. I train a lot in the gym, so sort of, you know, going down a bit of a fitness route, a bit of a sort of elegant, as I say, you know, potentially a catwalk route. Not that I've ever been on the catwalk, but you know, who knows? Um, you know, that's kind of where I would fit in best to the modelling world. Whereas, for example, I mean, I know different people have different views on it, but I see a lot of girls, myself included, who will model what's known as artistic nude, which is very much a celebration of how beautiful women are as individuals. So it's very much about sort of shape and figure and, you know, where the light falls on the body. And just, as I say, celebrating women for what they are, because, I mean, in my opinion, women are beautiful and their bodies are beautiful. And I meet many, many really incredible, talented, artistic nude models who are only about 5 foot, you know, 5'4", 5'5". But the minute they're up there, you know, putting these incredible poses and contorting their bodies into the most amazing shapes, height is irrelevant at that point.
I see.
So yeah.
And for nude modeling that you mentioned,
Mm.
how your friends and everyone around you reacted first time that you started doing that?
I think it gets a bit of a mixed opinion, because I think everyone automatically assumes the worst, and that it's maybe, you know, a seedy thing to do or something like that. And I, you know, I want to really stress that artistic nude is very, very different to glamour or adult modeling. The two are, as I say, couldn't be further apart. Artistic nude is not meant to be, how do I say, it's not meant to be sexy in a roundabout. I know that sounds really funny because you've got a nude woman, but it's not meant to have sex appeal. It's meant to be beautiful. And a lot of the time, artistic nude is, you know, women getting up on, oh God, rocks out in the Lake District or on the icebergs in Iceland, and, you know, just this amazing figure in an incredible location. So yeah,
And
that's so
do you
going
think
back to
what
your
would
original
be
question. Sorry, I love
what
your
would be
original question now.
yeah
Going back to your original question on what people thought about it,
yeah
I think once people understand it a bit more, you know, and are not quite so taboo about it, I think most of my friends and my family don't really, I guess it's my family, you know, they don't really, they go, okay, fine, we'll leave you to it. You know, they don't sort of, you know, they don't really mind. Some of my friends think I'm mad. Some of them think I'm amazing for doing it. They're like, wow, I've never had the confidence to do something like that. But in some ways, it's sometimes easier because you don't have to think about your styling or your wardrobe or anything. It's just, here I am.
and do you think what's the best way to let the society know that there is a big difference between art about this artistic nude that you mentioned
Mm.
and this adult industry? So how to inform them about this, you think? What's the best way to make them understand?
That's a question. This is where I wish I had some of the most established art nude models, you know, sat around me to help me out. Um, I mean, I certainly wouldn't say that you know, there is no issue with anyone modeling what they want to model. You know, if they want to model to adult levels, you know, if they want to model glamour, which is meant to be much more about sex appeal, I suppose, in my opinion, you know, there's no issue, as far as I'm concerned, that people do exactly what they want to do. Oh, that is that's a really tricky question. I think it does just come around to celebrating the beauty of women in that regard. And artistic nude is much less about, how do I say, I feel it's much less about aesthetics. I feel in the glamour and maybe the adult industry, there's a lot of women trying to fit in. You know, they want the biggest breasts, they want the biggest lips, they want, you know, all this surgery and all this makeup to morph themselves into something which in my opinion, I I don't necessarily think is always that attractive. You know, I think unless maybe you have a real insecurity or a real I don't know, maybe if you're born with you know, maybe no breasts or something like that, then you know, fair enough. But otherwise, I think we should be much more comfortable and much happier in our own skin rather than trying to strive to be plastic. Is my opinion.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point that you mentioned. Like that's exactly the opposite of self-confidence for them, for those who go through that unbearable surgeries, just to look that way, as you mentioned. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's very.
A lot of the time, I think a lot of the time as well, you know, I wonder how often girls will regret the decisions that they make at this point in life. You know, I mean, as I say, I see many girls coming here and they do have, you know, they have had undergone a lot of surgery and I sort of question, I think, oh, I wonder if years down the line when things maybe start to go a bit wrong or you need to repeat surgeries or and I don't know, maybe you can't afford it. I don't know. I mean, I know there's a lot of girls that are doing very well out of it, and fair play. But yeah, it's not for me.
Yeah, and it's hard, by the way, to generalize that, like all of them have low self-confidence because,
Mm,
you know, sometimes they think, what's the demand? Like,
mm,
what should I
mm.
do to have more views, for example? So sometimes it's related to that. So
Yes.
it's very, yeah, so that's hard to say in general.
Mm,
And we talked about your height and
mm.
what would be your challenges as a tall person, not a tall model, but tall person in in daily
In
life.
the industry or in general?
Yes, that's
In
pretty
general.
general.
Oh, challenges. I think the biggest thing for me is which the modelling has helped with drastically, but when I was younger and trying to fit in, I always felt like I was the odd one out. You know, if I was in a crowd of people or if I was having my photo taken with my friends, you know, I couldn't ever look at those photos without going, "Oh, I stand out." You know, I look different to them, and you know, that gave me a certain degree of body dysmorphia because I felt that that wasn't acceptable. Um, and just simple things like I remember being in the supermarket one day and this woman, this sort of middle-aged lady, she came up to me and I'm just minding my business. She came up and she looked at me and she said, "Gosh, you're tall, aren't you? Really tall." You know, and I just kind of at that point in my life where being tall was probably quite a big issue for me, I didn't see it as a compliment. You know, I saw it as a well, I mean, I wouldn't go around society and go into the shops and go up to someone who's 5 foot tall and go, "Wow, aren't you really small?" You know,
Yeah.
it just wouldn't happen. And yet some people seem to think it's acceptable the other way around. So I think that's probably the hardest thing is fitting into the world and seeing all these lovely girls who are all average height and they can wear whatever size heel they want or anything like that. And I've never really felt like I can do that because if I wear massive heels, I mean, when I'm modeling, it's slightly different because it's just me in the photo. But you know, walking around or going for a night out and sticking on a great big pair of heels, you know, I just feel like I already get enough looks as it is. And if I'm 6'5", you know, it's kind of, oh. But that's my own confidence issues that I still need to work on.
And don't you think the perception about tall girls specifically has been changed because of Instagram?
Mm.
Because we have so many tall models now
Yes.
and they have so many followers. So it
Mm.
shows that it's very attractive for
Yes.
many people.
Yes.
So don't you think the perception has changed about tall girls in society even because of
Yes.
Instagram?
Yeah, I'd absolutely agree with that. I think there are, as far as I can tell, there are actually some girls making an absolute fortune from being tall because, you know, I believe there's, I don't know, maybe you'd call it a fetish or something, but, you know, for men, maybe men and women, I don't know, but men to, you know, like that kind of really tall, that goddess, statuesque kind of, I'm bigger than you kind of vibe. And I know some girls are doing very well out of that. So you know, it's been something that, you know, people have asked me about. They said, oh, you should do this, you know, set up whatever you want to do and make a fortune out of, you know, sending men videos of your size 8 feet or something. But it's not something that I've toyed with the idea, you know, but it's just not really me.
I see. That's exactly what's brings misunderstanding for people. Like, where is the line, for example? As you mentioned, what you do is art exactly. Like, you're not interested to post pictures just for someone's fetish, for example. You know, so
Yes.
there are some lines like that that is hard for
Yes.
people to understand. Because when they look at your profile and your pictures in your Instagram page, that's the
Mm.
first thing comes to their mind is totally different of what you're trying to tell them. Like, this is art.
Uh-huh.
This is not what they're looking for sometimes, you know?
Yes. Yeah, I do get, I mean, I know I'm not alone in this. I get some of the most horrendous messages, some really quite vile, you know, I mean, I get sent pictures, I won't say anymore, you know, but unwanted and unrequested pictures. And I sometimes I think, what gives someone the inclination or the, you know, want to do that or want, I want to see that, you know, it's almost from my mind a form of sexual harassment, you know, I don't want to see that, I'm not interested, you know, and yet some people seem to think that's okay. But I guess their way of viewing women is maybe quite shallow and quite there's a word for it, but I can't remember what the word is. Almost like having power over women, I suppose, and we can treat women however we want to, and they're just objects of sex or whatever you want to call it, which is absolutely not the case.
I see. And actually, I had an interview with the model who is doing kind of such photos.
Mm,
For even she has her own different page exactly about that, so that people won't ask her in her main page
yeah.
about it because that's more artistic. But she has her separate page for exactly those things.
Mm,
So,
mm-hmm,
you know, even I cannot say, for example, she has a shallow personality because
mm,
she has also other dimension. But
mm,
the problem is that, as I told you, usually it's very hard to distinguish, like where's the border, like what you do exactly, and what
mm,
people, your audience, can expect from you.
mm,
Because for you, for example, it could be insulting when someone asks you for such photos directly. It's so insulting for you.
mm,
But for many models
mm,
actually do that. So for
mm,
the audience, also very confusing. That's exactly my question: how to make them understand, like, this is not what I do, like how
mm,
to distinguish exactly in your page from the beginning when they look at your description, how they understand
mm,
you're not that kind of model, you know?
yeah. I certainly don't think that there is ever going to be a clear-cut answer to that. I think there will always be people out there who will push the boundary and make inappropriate and suggestive comments, whoever you are. Um, I think obviously a lot of girls, and absolutely fair play to them, are exploiting the likes of OnlyFans and things like that. And a lot of girls have done very well out of it. And, you know, as I say, I have no issue with anyone doing anything like that at all. I'd be a big hypocrite if I did say that. Um, I think probably, you know, if you're looking at someone's profile, then usually they've got, if they are partaking in creating that sort of content, they've usually got something on their profile that will point you in that direction. I see a lot of girls saying things like, you know, more spicy content here, or you know, the link you're looking for, or something like that, and that will obviously take people directly to their OnlyFans or Patreon or whatever site that they're using. Um, so I sort of think if someone like myself, who's got my profile on there, you know, clearly stating I'm a model, da, 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 I don't make reference or mention to anything about other sites or, you know, paying for content or anything like that, then maybe that should be an indication. But as I say, I don't think there's ever going to be, we're ever going to stop people doing what they want to do.
So that's why I think such talks would be very important, because usually people avoid, especially interviewers avoid asking such questions. But I think
Mm,
it's very important to educate people like about such things. And
mm,
about why people do that. What is it art? Is it adult industry? If it
Yes.
is adult industry, at which level it is okay, at which level it is even dangerous. So such things really should be talked about. Unfortunately, there's lack of it. And
Mm.
exactly, maybe a problem could be even sometimes to the platforms. Like, as I notice, Instagram and YouTube, they have very strict policies about that. And for example, did you
Mm.
have any challenge about that, posting a picture and Instagram had a problem with it?
Yes. To be honest, I was naive and I was stupid. So I started posting photos of some of my nude work on Instagram, but making sure that I was, blurring out certain areas and, putting like stars or whatever, over certain areas of the photo. Um, I'm aware Instagram don't like anything like that on their platform. So really it was naive and stupid. And I did get shadow banned for, well, I don't know how long I went on for, maybe a couple of weeks, I guess. Um, so I went through and obviously removed all that content. And that content is now purely on my portfolio on a portfolio hosting site. So yes, I have been victim to it. The one thing that I do find a bit sad now, and I'm not sure how much of it is restricted to Instagram or, dare I say it, people reporting people, because maybe they have a vendetta against them, a jealousy, whatever it is. I myself even still question that a little bit with my small account because I mean I'm a very small fish in a big pond. I mean I only had about 2,000 followers at the time, so I kind of thought maybe Instagram wouldn't worry about me too much, I guess. So maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. Um, but I see some accounts and some fantastic models and photographers, and they're posting pictures of themselves in lingerie, in well, I mean even one the other day posted, and the girl was in a pair of short shorts and a crop top. So completely reasonable photo as far as I'm concerned. And the photographer put up a post a few minutes later saying this content is not recommended to non-followers or whatever. So and I'm kind of looking at it going, well, what's wrong with it? Because as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing on show. No attempt has been made to blur anything out or cover anything or pixelate or whatever. So I think Instagram have got a bit of work to do in that regard, for sure. Um,
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like, when platforms have such problems, how can we
mm,
expect ordinary people to distinguish between art and such content? So
yes,
that's really challenging topic, and I
yes,
hope they will think about stuff more deeply and try to address this issue more carefully,
absolutely.
because artists like you will suffer from it. Exactly, like you should be careful about some posts and you don't know even if this one will be banned or not, and so
Mm.
what to do exactly, because this is your job, what to do if not posting them.
Yeah. And the biggest, I guess, the most frustrating thing sometimes is there is one model in particular who, as I say, I won't mention any names, but she has, I think, approximately 2.8 million followers. And she does a lot of OnlyFans and everything, and she's done very well out of it. Um, and she posts content daily with sheer tops, with hose pipes, going water. So you can see everything you want to see. But because she's got a sheer top on, as far as I'm aware, it's something to do with the Instagram algorithm saying, well, there's not much skin on show, or a certain percentage of skin isn't on show. So despite the fact that you can clearly see everything, but because she's under a sheer top, it's fine. And it's accounts like that that get a little bit frustrating sometimes because I'm like, well, if she's got 2.8 million followers that are seeing this content, which as far as I'm concerned is a darn sight more than most people who are being banned for absolutely nothing. That's where I don't quite understand Instagram and its rules. And I mean, I appreciate it's a massive platform. I mean, I dread to think how many users they've got. And, they can't have one guy just sat there approving every single post. So I appreciate they've got a massive job on their hands. But yeah, that doesn't seem quite right or fair, as I say, to models and
Yeah,
photographers who are posting content that is absolutely by the book.
Yeah, that's absolutely not fair. And
Mm,
you own your own photography and filming studio.
yes.
So why did you decide to have that one? What advantages it bring to you?
Um, well, it kind of all started because I mean, I'm actually my trade originally. I'm a veterinary nurse. So I was a veterinary nurse for about 10 years. And I got a little bit tired of the industry. A lot changed after COVID. We started seeing a lot more nervous aggression in dogs, and a lot more, how do I say, that's what I'm looking for, demanding sort of clients and the pressures from the clients and what they expected. And it just started getting quite a difficult industry to work in. So when I moved up to Staffordshire about a year ago with my fiance, and the house we basically the studio is based in our house, so we're using the house as kind of like a location. But how it came about was when I moved up here with him, I sort of said, "Oh, do you know this place would be great for a shoot at some point?" And at that point, I was just thinking about myself. More sounds a bit selfish, but that was literally all that came to mind. Um, and then, as I say, I wasn't too happy in my actual job, and I was thinking I'm 31 now, so maybe if I'm going to model again, now is probably the time. Um, and I said, well, do you reckon if I want to model here, other people might want to model here? And the idea just spiraled. So in April, we opened as Basford Hurst Cottage photography location, and it's been non-stop ever since.
So what sort of customers will come to you for shooting in that location?
Oh, we've had quite a range. It's mainly is models and photographers looking to do portfolio updates and dare I say it, the vast proportion of photographers, will shoot for a hobby. They really enjoy it, and that's what they'll come to do. Um, we have had the odd sort of more company running like women's empowerment days. We've had a cosplay group come here. That was a lot of fun watching the likes of Wonder Woman and stuff walking around the house. It was a bit surreal.
Yeah.
We've had a ballerina here who ran a 2-day group event. And next year we're actually hosting a photographer called Thomas Holm, who's coming over from Denmark for a 2-day workshop. And he's pretty well renowned, funnily enough, in the artistic nude genre. So really, really excited to welcome him here.
That was cool. And do you think there's chance also for using this location for movie industry, maybe for a professional movie or something, or even a short movie?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've actually had a couple of people come here and do a couple of little filming projects.
Okay.
When I'm saying little, like, I think they wouldn't mind me saying, but very amateur kind of. Uh, when I do say amateur, I don't mean that they're bad at it. I just mean it's very amateur work. I hope that comes across right. But yes, we have thought about opening up to the filming industry as well. The biggest thing for us with the property was it'd been quite neglected by the previous owners that had it. So a lot of the outside space was quite derelict. It really just got on top of them, and they just hadn't looked after it. So we're currently obviously working very hard to change that, but obviously that's not something that happens overnight. So that's been the biggest reason why we haven't pushed for sort of bigger companies to come in yet as much, because we felt the inside was pretty much there, but the outside didn't reflect so much on the inside. So hopefully by next year, by next spring, summer, that'll all be looking pretty top notch.
Yeah, that would be great also to see that location in various movies, because I see the potential there for sure. The photos you posted,
Thank you.
especially as you say about the interior. But if you
Yes,
work out, yes, from the look outside, it would be really wonderful.
yes,
That would be nice.
yeah.
And I wanted actually one of the questions from the audience was about how do you keep in fit? But I think by looking at your Instagram stories, I got my answer already.
Yes. I mean, Oh gosh, I mean, I've always been involved in some sort of sport ever since I was sort of, oh God, no, I started playing netball when I was 10, and I rode horses for years. So I've always played a lot. I played a lot of beach volleyball. So I've always had an interest in keeping fit. I think it is a really important thing, and it's so good for your mental health as well. Um, Currently, I usually play netball every week, and I usually train at the gym about 4 times a week. Mix of cardio and weights, which I really enjoy. And as I say, I think it's just good for everything really, not just physique, but also, as I say, the mental side of it, and especially with the with the winter and the dark evenings, and it can be really hard to find that bit of motivation to go out and keep busy still. But honestly, the getting out of bed in the morning or going out in the evening, and when you have that feeling of, oh my God, I'm knackered, but it's been a great workout, it's just such a good feeling, and the endorphins are great. So yeah.
And guys, you can contribute to our chat using that question mark down below. You can ask your questions. And I can see that Madison already asked you whether, have you ever considered acting?
I don't know if I'd be much of an actor or an actress, shall I say. Again, I guess I've thought about it. But I think I think it's a confidence thing, it's even coming on here and talking live, and I know it's all very fun and all very nice and informal, but even doing that for me, I was sat here initially going, oh God, what am I going to say? Or how, am I going to come across okay? I'm going to embarrass myself. Something awful is going to happen. So I think acting is very, very much like that. My sister was always on stage. She loved all the amateur dramatics and all that sort of stuff. I was very happy to sit there and cheer her on.
And based on your stories, I understood you have such a sense of humor. That's why when Madison mentioned it, I thought it's not far from reality. Maybe it could be one option someday. Who knows?
You never know. I have recently set up on the platform, I think it's Star Now, which is it Star Now, I think, and they sort of seem to have quite a lot of links in the industry. So who knows? Who knows what the future holds?
Talking about your stories, I noticed you posted one picture about a snake and called that snake Noodle. Was it really was it really the name of the snake, or you just name it?
He is actually called Noodle, because I was incredibly uninventive when I bought him. So his name, because I think there's a thing, isn't there, that snakes are known as danger noodles or something, which I'd actually never heard of. But yes, he's about 3 years old now, I suppose, Noodle. He's only a corn snake, so he's completely harmless. But he was my lockdown pet to myself. I couldn't get a cat, so I got a snake instead.
Yeah, and Studio, as you mentioned also on your profile, that you're a cat lover, right?
Yes.
You own a cat yourself.
Not at the moment. I've had cats all my life, and I miss having a cat so much. Me and my partner, we will have a cat at some point. The biggest reason we haven't actually got one is because there's been so much work going on in the house. So obviously we didn't want to bring a cat into an environment where there's building work being done, and it's just really stressful. And at some point, I think we might have a dog a bit later down the line, but we love traveling, so we love going out and seeing the world. So at the moment, a dog doesn't quite fit into that. It wouldn't be fair on the dog. But a cat, they're a law to themselves. So a cat would probably be quite happy, left to its own devices for a few weeks.
That's right.
Not that I
And
would do that, by the way.
and you mentioned that you love traveling. Have you ever been in Cyprus before?
No, I've never been to Cyprus, but I would
Or
quite
you
like to
should.
go. Would you recommend it?
Yes, definitely, especially during spring and autumn, because during
Mm-hmm.
summer times, people sometimes nagging that's too hot for them.
Yes.
But for example, June at the beginning of summer, maybe that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But in July and
Mm-hmm.
August, it could be a disaster for many tourists. But they keep
Yes.
coming anyway because it's perfect for swimming, and the beach sides are very nice. So I definitely
Mm-hmm.
recommend you.
I will
It would be,
put it on the list.
yeah, it would be lovely to see you guys here as well. I'm
Yes.
also going through the I guess some strange questions like what noodle eats.
That's a random one. I mean, he basically gets a dead mouse every 10 days roughly. Because obviously in the UK it's illegal to feed live prey, which I think is absolutely the way. So yeah, and obviously he can't be a vegetarian, so he has to eat something.
Yeah. So let's do something fun. On our page, we have a challenge named Crazy Eyebrow. Try to raise eyebrow up like this, and the other one. Can you try that?
Oh my God. See, I can do one way. I can't do the other way. I can only do one way.
This gesture is good for modeling, by the way.
Exactly.
Would be a good
That's great,
practice.
isn't it? Well, my mouth feels the need to join in as well.
So, would you like to add something to our viewers?
Oh my goodness. What do people usually add to this part of the conversation? I'm not sure. Just be comfortable being who you are. You can't be anyone else in this life. This is you, your body, your skin. Just make the most of it and be happy being you.
That's great. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really enjoyed our talk today, and I really hope to see even more projects from you, even see you in fashion contests or something like that, because I think
Who knows?
yeah,
Maybe one day.
yeah, and I really want to see your future projects in photography, filming in your studio, or about you. I'm looking forward to all of them. I know you have such a bright future regarding that, and I keep looking for it. Hopefully, everything goes well as you imagine.
You're very kind. Thank you. I look forward to it too. Who knows what's around the corner?
Thank you very much for your time today. Wish you a very good day.
You too.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you ever so much for talking to me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. See you. Bye then.
Take care.
Bye for now.
Bye bye.